Enduring brands. This is Civic Media. Learn more at civicmedia.us/advertise.
It is going to be mostly sunny today. Our high right around 74 this afternoon. Tonight, it'll be clear with a low of 65. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high right around 75. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp 62.
Mornings with Pat Kreitlow.
One of the most basic things that a free people could want, not going bankrupt because of health care. If it sounds like I'm banging my head against the microphone, it's that we are having this discussion about having to hold benefits for people because they didn't have proper health insurance coverage, because they're threatened with bankruptcy, which again happens in no other developed country in the world.
Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Weekdays 6 to 9 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app.
Mommy, can I sit in the front seat just this one time? Please, please, please.
No, not yet.
But why?
Because I love you, and you're just not ready yet. Now, get in the back so I can get you in your car seat, please.
Putting your kids in the right seat for their age and size is an act of love. Check that your kids are in the right seat at NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat. Love protects. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Pete Schwaba.
On the next Nightlight, it's a Civic Media All-Star Show as sports director Jimmy Kuska joins me to make the popcorn pick of the week. And then Matenaer On Air's Greg Bach joins the show to talk comedy and movies.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
You're listening to 540 WAUK, Milwaukee's home for mornings with Pat Kreitlow.
You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Jam-packed show for you today. Coming up next hour, Brittany Merlot is back for a little weather and wine.
Yeah.
Much cooler today. We had a whole bunch of rain yesterday. And Brittany will be checking in, let us know what's coming to Wisconsin across the weekend. We will talk all things sports. We don't even have to talk about yesterday's game.
What game? I don't know about any game.
There you go.
There's no game that happened yesterday.
The Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan will be here to not talk about yesterday's baseball game. We will talk all other things sports. And then we'll wrap up the show as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Terminator Bunny edition.
Ooh.
I encourage you to stick around for that. That's, again, at the very end of the show, around 10:51-ish. Delighted to have him here to kick off the show. He is actually a working attorney who has a real job where he does attorney things. Jim Santel is here. Normally, Jim, you join us after 9:30, but you squeezed us in because you are, again, a working lawyer, so we really appreciate you doing some adjusting for us. I want to jump into this right away while we have you about Jeffrey Epstein and the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, yesterday, U.S. Senate Democrats started a little-known legal path trying to force the Trump administration to release these files using a century-old law requiring the executive branch to comply if 5 senators on a committee sign on to this request. So what's your feeling? I mean, where are we with this? What's going to happen with the Epstein files?
And so this is an appropriate aspect for the Congress to undertake, right? It falls very generally under the view of oversight, right? You want to have the Congress who's looking at the executive branch. We do this fairly routinely. They're invoking here, Jane and Greg, a long-standing procedure that contemplates that if you've got the requisite number of senators or members of the House of Representatives, you can make this request. And yes, indeed, and here's the rub, as you can anticipate, the government, the executive branch, is obliged to respond to that in some way. They can make certain objections to certain national security things, other things may be privileged. The question, of course, is, again, you've written a letter. So they've written a letter to the Attorney General saying, produce these materials. We'd like to see everything. We'd also like to see those reports of the interview just last week, this very curious thing involving our Deputy Attorney General going to Tallahassee to sit down with her. We can chat more about the curious nature of that.
Yes.
They want all things. And again, it's an appropriate request coming from the United States Congress. The question that I have, as you have had and Greg's had and all listeners have had, will this government comply? Will the Attorney General say, as apparently others have said inside the Department of Justice, including a fellow who's apparently going to the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, judges and authorities don't have to be followed. And so my strong sense is that they will write back and say that they, meaning the Attorney General and others, thank you very much for your inquiry. Maybe they'll produce some information, but probably more likely not, given the fact that this is all so much embroiled in, I hate to say it, silliness on all sides. We can bring this to an end fairly quickly. Release, again, it's going to be thousands and thousands of pages. These are not the grand jury materials. They never were. But there are all kinds of reports of interviews and all kinds of things, maybe photographs, maybe records of writings. All of that related to the underlying criminal investigation and the charges against Maxwell and Epstein. You're not going to find in even that file, unless somebody's thrown in some odd notes here, things about these conspiracies within conspiracies, that somehow it is Hillary Clinton who's responsible for the Epstein death, or that there are other things going on out there that just make no sense at all. It's going to be an investigative file that reflects what the investigation found. That's also reflected in the grand jury indictments against Epstein and Maxwell. She plainly convicted of that. He commits suicide before that conviction can be had and the trial can be conducted. And that's what you're going to get. I think it's good to produce it just to bring this craziness to an end. It goes to the larger issue of what are we doing here? What are we doing here as a country?
If you're just joining us on Matenaer On Air, Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review Saturdays from 9 to 11 across the network, is our guest. And we're trying to break down a little bit the Jeffrey Epstein story. He's still dead, and this story still won't go away, as much as some people might want it to do so. My question, Jim, among many, this whole argument that they cannot release these files because they don't want to re-victimize the victims and they don't want the victims' names released. Those can be redacted. That seems to me a pretty disingenuous argument.
It is, and it's disingenuous across the board, all kinds of things, even in grand jury indictments, public pleadings, criminal and civil. Typically, the most you do, I spent a lot of time practicing in children's court as well, you can protect the identity of people by indicating what their initials are. You can do those infamous black blocks that eliminate the information itself. We've seen that a lot in the past. That is not an argument against the production of this. Again, is there any continuing law enforcement purpose as to any of this? I don't think so, but perhaps to satisfy, or probably not satisfy, an awful lot of Americans, produce these things with those redactions. Other things may be in that file that should not be produced, investigative results, those kinds of things. But the reality is that there's nothing more to do here. And it's concerning to me, number one, that our Department of Justice and all of us, candidly, are spending all this time focusing on what is a tragedy, undeniably a tragedy. I've always said this, criminal prosecution of everybody out there with respect to whoever your defendant is, it's a human tragedy. My recommendation to the Attorney General and to others there at the Department of Justice, produce those files that you can produce without compromising the integrity of the file. Let people go through them. We'll spend another week sorting through things that perhaps have not been known in the past, and then we can move on. The other thing about this, as I indicated, that's of great concern to me is this notion that my deputy Attorney General spent some time, maybe a couple of days, curiously sitting down with Ghislaine Maxwell.
Alone,
apparently.
Alone.
I'm hoping there was somebody in the room, but it appears he was alone, which is very curious. You never do that. You don't have the Deputy Attorney General. It's not an investigator. He can do it. He's a lawyer. But
that's not typical. That's not typical,
Jim, right? Right. When Eric Holder was working for Janet Reno, he was not out there doing investigative interviews, and that frankly applies to everybody down the road. The other concern I have about this is why him, and of course the reality is he was the president's former attorney. He still has an attorney-client relationship, a private attorney-client relationship with the President of the United States of America. That never goes away. The things that Donald Trump told him in connection with the prosecution in New York, that continues. Now, we don't know what that is. We never should know what that is, Jane, because that's the nature of the privilege. But Todd Blanche does. And the concern that I have is, what things does the investigator here, who's the Deputy Attorney General, know about the president's past history that could animate his present official work here? There's so many curiosities about this. Why are we doing this? We're doing this, as you've indicated in other broadcasts, because apparently Ghislaine Maxwell is making these demands now. She wants everything, and then she'll talk. And that's hopefully not going to happen, but this is all political. It's not law enforcement related. It's curious. It's contrary to the way the Department of Justice works. And I'm still scratching my head and will continue to do so.
And Jim, that's something that keeps on going on in my mind. I can't believe I didn't realize this before, but let's just play a scenario that Ghislaine Maxwell says what she needs to say, gets a pardon. That doesn't make the case go away, right? Like, the crimes have still been committed, or does that just mean everything in the files are just like, we have the files, but nothing can be done to prosecute anyone on anything, because if she is found, or if she is pardoned, there's nothing to prosecute or even investigate in the first place.
Right. It is so odd, right, Greg, that we're even having this conversation. A pardon, again, doesn't erase history. You're absolutely right. Are those crimes still committed? You bet. And talk to the victims out there. Do the files reflect that investigation? Of course they will. And that will remain the case for all time. As to her, a pardon, an order of clemency from the president, if he chooses to do that, unwisely, this is not a merit-based pardon request at all. But if he chooses to do that, her conviction and the judgment against her, which she's now appealing, that gets removed. Again, not from the annals of history, but from legal records. And so the effect of a pardon is to lift from her all of the burdens that go along with a federal criminal conviction. She also wants immunity, which of course would go along with that. She obviously asking for all kinds of things. And she said, I'll be happy to talk if you'll give me all of these things, get me out of jail. She's complained about that. And this is an approach that, again, what is she bargaining from? She's been convicted. She is spending time right now in prison. What is it that the administration with the Department of Justice wants investigatively from her? There's nothing more to look at here aside from some political animation by the president, who has already told the Department of Justice, look for anything you possibly find out there, and that maybe exonerate me, would minimize my relationship with him.
Or make my opponents look bad.
Make my opponents look bad. Is any of that law enforcement related? No, it's partisan politics, which Washington and other places do. I get that completely. So many things about this, including, frankly, if we do go down the pardon road, pardons, they're produced and they're given for people typically 5 years out after a conviction, showing something about your life, that you have put that behind yourself. You've done good things in the community. You've enhanced yourself. You've helped other people. This is a conviction where the ink is still wet and she's still seeking remedies, habeas corpus. She wants review by the Supreme Court. This is not someone who would typically be in the category of receiving a pardon for now a life well lived in the wake of criminal conduct. But this president has issued pardons in that capacity, in that way, for many other people. This would be just the latest one.
Attorney Jim Santel is our guest on Matenaer On Air. We're talking about the ongoing Epstein files case. My big question, Jim, is on both sides, Democrats and Republicans seem to be going around who they should be calling to talk to. Why haven't we subpoenaed Bill Barr? Why hasn't Alex Acosta been subpoenaed? Alex Acosta is a Florida official who made that first sweetheart deal with Jeffrey Epstein, where he was able to go out and spend his day out with no ankle monitor, no nothing, all of this stuff that he got. Alex Acosta set up that deal and then went to work in the Trump administration in an agency that oversees sex trafficking. That, to me, is why hasn't anyone asked to talk to him?
And the answer is yes, yes, and yes, right? All that should be done as a part of what? Not anticipating the criminal charging of anyone, but Congress finding out how the Department of Justice is working now, has worked in the past. That's its oversight capacity. Does that sometimes partake of political aspects? You bet it does. But that's the kind of thing that Congress can do. It's not a matter for a grand jury, criminal investigation anymore. And so pursue that. Absolutely.
Another justice has been appointed. That should give us all pause. We'll kick that around with Jim Santel. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back. Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Dr. Slide on the board. Coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Joining us a little earlier than usual because he is a working attorney. Our friend and colleague here at Civic Media, Jim Santel, host of Amicus, a law review, is joining us. In the time we have left, Jim, we wanted to talk a little bit about Emile Beauvais, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He was just confirmed this week by the Senate for lifetime tenure on the Third Circuit Appeals Court. And there were several, at least 3 whistleblowers that came out against this man.
3 whistleblowers inside the U.S. Department of Justice at the time of meetings, maybe other conversations, in which a man who is now, Jane, as you accurately said, going to be at a court just one below the United States Supreme Court. What did he, with some fair reliability now, say to Department of Justice lawyers about how they conduct themselves in our federal courts? He said, you know what? You don't have to follow what federal judges tell you to do. I will not use the word on this fine program, but he said, when they ask you to do something that is contrary to our plan, our policy, the president's practice, and by the way, the Department of Justice is now the president's lawyers, not our lawyers, you can tell that judge F you. And again, one of the attorneys who was there filed this initial whistleblower complaint, corroborated now by others, putting aside the language itself. It is the significance of that direction to anyone inside government, including lawyers of the Department of Justice who have an oath that they have taken to provide honest and truthful information. If you don't know, you say you don't know. If there are things that are protected, you identify that. But you don't simply tell judges, as we have seen since, well, frankly, early on in this administration, this notion you go into court. If a judge asks you a question, you deceive, you don't answer, you make up responses. You can get fired for saying things like, oh, Mr. Abrego Garcia, he was administratively removed. That can get you fired for being honest, as we know. And that I would offer to you. I think your question is so important, Jane, because it reflects on what's going on inside the Department of Justice these days. If you can't trust the Department of Justice lawyers to be honest and straightforward, that's the core of our entire government right there.
Well, and this was the concern well over a year and a half ago when we started talking about Project 2025, which essentially lays out the blueprint to fill the federal government with nothing but Trump loyalists. And this is what's happening. And as you said, Jim, it's no longer the American Department of Justice. This is Trump's Department of Justice, and they are working for Donald Trump, not the American people.
Absolutely. It is stunning to know that our Attorney General Pam Bondi has said that explicitly. She has said, we work for the president. And he has also said that the Department of Justice, these are they're mine. They're his lawyers. This is his Roy Cohen, so to speak. Jeez. He is, again, erased for years and years, generations. There has been this arm's length relationship. That has not been the case. You represent the people and the interests of the United States of America. That is a dramatic change, and it has an impact upon what happens in our courts and on the rights and positions of all of us. That's why this is so important. Now, Emile Beauvais on the Court of Appeals, I wonder out loud if there is an attorney for private sector, public sector who is directed by the Court of Appeals to do something. Does that attorney invoke what Emile Beauvais said when he was inside the Department of Justice and say, Your Honor, I'm not going to do that.
No, I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah. Right.
We are just about out of time, Jim. You are having an event in Wauwatosa tonight.
Yes, it's open to everybody. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court, all kinds of cases. I can just show up. It's at the City Hall there, the Firefly Room, conversation about
public
many
library.
cases.
The public library.
A public library, yes, exactly. The public library, exactly. And open to anybody. You don't have to register. I'm delighted to have any guests who would like to show up.
Wonderful.
And there'll be cookies.
There'll be cookies. And some beverages, too. How good
Jim
is that?
Santel tonight in Wauwatosa at the Wauwatosa Public Library. What time does it start, Jim?
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock tonight. Join Jim at the Wauwatosa Public Library in the Firefly Room, and join him every Saturday morning, 9 to 11, across the network for Amicus, the Law Review. Thank you so very much, Jim. We will see you in a week.
Always a pleasure, Jen and Greg. Take care.
You as well.
Thank you very much.
We have news coming up in just a little bit. Then when we return, prices. We have prices, but Jim's got to go.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the prices are up again, and we saw this coming down the pike. We knew this was going to happen. Prices rise regardless, but CEOs they have a darn good reason, Jane, a really darn good reason
as to why they're raising prices.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, and we're going to explain that really, really, really good reason. Yeah. After the news, and then next hour, right after the 10 o'clock news, Ron Johnson is back in the news.
We got a good clip. Like
we have a wonderful, wonderful clip from Wisconsin Senior Senator Ron Johnson. Yeah. That's coming up after 10 o'clock, and also a little Derek Van Orden update. That is all coming up in the next hour.
He stood next to the president.
He did. And the president couldn't find him. News is next. Stay close. You are listening to Matenaer On Air. We are coming to you across the vast, statewide, countrywide. You can pick us up around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Calby coming live from our studio here at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. That's 855-75-CIVIC. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream. Hello, live stream. On Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up next hour at this time, the Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan will be here to talk all things sports, except about yesterday's game, because we're just going to pretend that didn't happen.
What game?
Exactly. Paul Noonan will be here to talk all things sports at the very end of the show. Around 10:51, we'll wrap it up, as we always do with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it is the Terminator Bunny edition. Stick around for that. Right now, though, we wanted to talk. Oh, I want to remind you, Todd Alba coming up today, 2 to 4 p.m.
Yeah.
He is live from WRCE in Richland Center, focusing on their Walk for Grace.
Wonderful.
This is something that they do every year. It's a wonderful, wonderful community fundraiser for people who are fighting cancer. So they have this great auction that's going on where they're raising money in Richland Center. It's been very successful so far. We can always help out and help raise some more money. So join Todd today at 2 o'clock. He's going to be joined by Phil Nee, Richland Center General Manager, host on the station's long involvement in this charity, this Walk with Grace. And then coming up after 2:30, Todd talks with June Nee, who is the chair of Walk with Grace. Todd Alba today, 2 to 4, coming to you live from WRCE in Richland Center. It's a great program.
Yeah.
Prices.
Yes.
Washington Post out with an article today, just came out about 5 minutes ago. Shoppers are stressed, but some brands are raising prices anyway. Citing tariffs, Procter & Gamble now will hike many of its prices in a sign that other major retailers will be following suit. Procter & Gamble, which makes, I don't know, a third of everything.
Yeah, right.
Dawn dish soap, Charmin toilet paper, Crest toothpaste, Tide detergent. Procter & Gamble announcing today it will raise prices on about a quarter of its products starting in August, partially because of the $1 billion hit in tariffs it expects to shell out annually.
Say that again, Jane?
The $1 billion tariff hit it expects annually.
I thought the other countries paid.
Yeah, that's not how tariffs work.
Oh.
Sorry. Company has not specified which products they'll be hiking their prices on, but said increases will be about 2.5% on average. And then we found this article from Brad Reed from Common Dreams. And this headline says, great cover. CEOs caught admitting they're using tariffs as an excuse to jack up prices. They wouldn't do that, would they?
Yeah, that turns out they would. Yeah,
they would.
Absolutely.
Pretty
Absolutely.
Much.
It's what we expected. It's what we knew was going to happen. It's what's happening because this is what they do.
Aaron Jagfeld is the CEO of Generac Power Systems. He said on an earnings call earlier this year, quote, even if we have metals that weren't impacted directly by tariffs, the indirect effect of tariffs is that it gives steel producers and the mills and fabricators great cover for increased pricing in some cases. Great cover, Greg. This is great.
Do you ever ask yourself why do they say things like this on earnings calls? Because I feel like whenever we hear insider information of an embarrassing sort like this, I don't even know if they're embarrassed. They probably feel no feelings.
No.
But it's always on earnings calls. And I'm like, you know that people can hear that, right? Like the words you're saying can be heard by other people. This isn't just like I'm calling my mom type of thing. You're on a phone that's designated to talk to hundreds, if not thousands of people. So maybe watch yourself or reword it or, I don't know, send it in a letter to somebody. But they always seem to admit it on earnings calls.
But again, what's going to happen? Nothing.
No, you're right.
Nothing.
You're
so
right.
why hide it? Why try and cover it? It's like, this is great cover, dudes. Let's celebrate.
Way to go, Wisconsin-based company, Generac.
Some retailers have already started raising prices, according to the Washington Post. Walmart has targeted baby gear, kitchenware, and toys, stuff mostly made in China. Industry experts expect some groceries will soon follow. I don't know if you've gone shopping for beef lately.
Yes. Yeah.
That kind of caught my attention the other day.
And to me, and this, I'm not paid by Big Beef. I'm just saying that if the prices are going up right now, it's time to explore your options as far as finding your meat from local sources then. Because, yeah, you will pay a little bit more for locally sourced meats.
It's worth it.
But I don't know if it's going to be such a great price disparity now that it just doesn't make sense to find yourself a good butcher or a good farm and get your meat there, because it's fresh, it's local, you're supporting directly to them, and you know what you're getting your money's worth. So,
I have friends who do that. They'll go in with 2 other families and they'll buy half a cow.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
And then I'll split that up.
Exactly. And yes, this was going to happen regardless. Prices always go up. That's just what prices do. As things get more expensive to make, prices go up. That's understandable. But this is not the first time they have used an excuse to raise prices. And I'm just going to ask the public now, because last year and the years before that, when prices were going up, they were happy to point their fingers at Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
And say, it's Joe Biden's fault. It's the Democrats' fault. I'm paying $9 for toothpaste because of the Democrats. No, it's because the companies raised their prices. I mean, there were outside forces. There were supply chain issues. There was COVID. There was high demand. They took advantage of us. How do I know they took advantage of us, Jane? They admitted to it.
Yeah, there's kind of that.
Yes.
That little point there. The Trump administration's 50% steel and aluminum tariffs will lead to higher food and beverage packaging costs, because coffee tins and beer cans and soda cans, all of that stuff going to be affected. The Tax Foundation is a nonpartisan Washington-based think tank. It projects tariffs will affect almost 75% of U.S. food imports. Liquors, spirits, baked goods, coffee especially. Coffee,
yeah.
Fish and beer. And not to mention $27 avocados.
I think that Jane, the simple fix to it all is we just got to start making coffee in our own land.
If we just would make coffee.
Make the steel for the cans in our own place. We got to manufacture our own toothpaste. We got to manufacture our own toilet paper. All that needs to be done in the United States of America, Jane. The toys that we get our kids, make them in the United States only, and we'll be great. I don't know how we're going to do that. I have no idea. But if I say it out loud, it sounds really good.
You will manifest it into reality.
Yes.
You just have to say it out loud.
Yes, exactly. So
another executive quoted in this report about CEOs sharing the little secret that they're going to hike prices because they can.
Yeah.
Matthew Stevenson is the CEO of auto parts maker Holley. He said, quote, "In the marketplace, we've seen price increases well in excess of what we put out into the market," adding that we've seen increases as high as 30% or more on some categories from some competitors. And again, they're saying this out loud in these earnings calls. This has given us great cover to hike our prices.
Yeah.
The tariffs.
The tariffs are going to be, I mean, the tariffs were going to hike our prices regardless, because that's what tariffs do. That's, it's not a smart, beautiful plan. It's not an elegant solution. That's for darn sure. But yeah, this is going to allow them to raise those prices just a little bit more and a little bit more, and we'll keep paying for them, because those things from Procter and Gamble, our lives won't end if we don't have them. But
you'll notice it, though.
Toilet paper, detergent, those are the things you need for everyday household
kind of staples.
Exactly. But I mentioned before, this is not the first time they've done this, and the reason why I say they've admitted it, because in 2024, a story came out in Newsweek that Kroger admitted to price gouging because of the pandemic. They used supply chain issues. They used the pandemic. They used high demand. They used all those as reasons to raise their prices above the rate of inflation. They came out and admitted this. And what we need to do as a collective society is, I know that the immediate thought is to have outrage towards the government. And there is plenty of outrage to go around.
Without a doubt.
But we have to remember that these are private businesses that are making the decisions on their prices, that some of them are doing it based on what the tariffs are going to do to them. They have to react with which is pass those costs along to us. In these situations where we see them artificially inflating their prices due to, quote unquote, the tariffs, that's when we need to tell them with either our dollars or our voices, this is unfair, this is not good. And companies will listen. Walmart, Amazon, and Target last year lowered prices on items for sale because they saw the demand was high and they saw people were angry. And they were, especially places like Walmart and Target, face boycotts due to like their DEI positions. Right. But you make a big enough noise, they may listen.
It's got to hurt, though.
It's got to hurt.
It's got to hurt.
And it's got to be collective. It's got to, I'm sorry, that's a socialist word, but it's got to be all of us together, regardless of who you voted for, because we all need toilet paper. We all need mouthwash. We all need these things to by our friends, family, and kids and whatnot. But we can't just simply point our fingers at the government and say, it's your fault. We can with regard to the tariffs.
We're talking about some companies on earning calls with their shareholders, essentially saying, this tariff thing, this has given us great cover to hike our prices anyway. Great. During Amazon's Prime Day event, according to the Washington Post, sales of backpacks, lunchboxes, binders, calculators, and children's clothing, people were trying to jump on this early to do their back-to-school shopping. Those were up 175% year over year. 175%. People with kids elementary through high school say they'll spend an average of $858 this year, down from last year, $874. They're also moving away from brand names and looking for deals. Yeah. And they're looking for deals.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you got to do. And and when I was a young kid, if you didn't have a JanSport bag, you were a social pariah. You had to have a JanSport bag. But nowadays it doesn't matter because you just got to get what gets you through the year. And unfortunately, Prime Days, I tried to find a funny thing to talk about Prime Days with us on the show, but at the end of it for me was just like the prices weren't great. The selection was terrible. And I didn't need any of the stuff they were trying to sell me. But people are trying to find these back to school items. And luckily, there are a lot of programs out there where you can get free backpacks from organizations that are handing them out. But 175%.
That's a big jump.
That's a big dent in your kitchen table economy.
By the way, in case you're worried, and who isn't, about Procter & Gamble's fiscal situation.
Yeah.
P&G saw its net sales in its last fiscal year quarter jump 2% to $20.9 billion. So they're obviously hurting. It's tough. You gotta pinch pennies, Greg.
Yeah, you gotta
pinch pennies when your profits are only $20 billion.
I'm thinking that maybe this isn't the year for me to buy a seventh boat.
Maybe hold off. Just give it a little time.
Maybe I'll get a smaller seventh boat.
That'll
there
work.
We go.
Coming up, Derek Van Orden standing behind the President of the United States when he couldn't find him. Oops. All the details coming up. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvi Teeny on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. After the 10 o'clock news, Senator Ron Johnson, Dan Schaefer brought this up yesterday when he was on the show. Legislative, what did he call it?
Demagoguery.
Thank you. Legislative demagoguery.
What a good word.
A new bill that would crack down on insider trading among members of Congress. And Rojo's against it.
And we'll find out why.
All the details coming up after the 10 o'clock news. Also next hour, Brittany Merlot will be here, Civic Media meteorologist with a little weather and wine. Know what we got coming up as we head into the weekend. The Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan will be here at 10:35 to talk all things sports, and then we'll wrap up the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today, the Terminator Bunny edition. Stick around for that.
Yeah.
Wanted to spend a little time on this just because I found this headline amusing. This is from the Daily Beast, so I guess keep that in mind. Eric E. Forster with the byline, Trump struggles to find congressmen standing behind him. I hate when that happens. Keep losing these guys. They're running around everywhere. Now, yesterday, the president sitting down. Derek Van Orden is over his right shoulder, and another lawmaker is over his left shoulder. President Donald Trump briefly lost track of the room on Wednesday, searching for a Republican lawmaker whose bill he was signing while he stood inches behind him. Donald Trump spoke for a good 2 minutes on the bill that Derek Van Orden co-sponsored about our veterans. I'm thrilled, he said, to be joined by the bill's sponsor, Congressman Derek Van Orden. Where's Derek? Derek, looking around the room, standing just over his right shoulder.
Yeah.
Van Orden appeared to say, I'm here, prompting the president to finally notice him.
I've been noticing him for
details.
I've been noticing him for years, and I don't get credit. That's what I'm going to say.
The thing, I mean, this is a good bill that got signed yesterday. It actually does help protect veterans from foreclosure.
That's great.
Which is a great thing.
Yep.
What maybe not everyone is aware of is that there was a similar program that was signed by President Biden in 2024.
But Jane, why would they get rid of it then?
Because when Donald Trump took office, he killed it in May. Yeah, there was a very, very similar measure to help out veterans so they wouldn't lose their homes to foreclosure. Biden administration got it done, enacted it in 2024. Donald Trump comes into office, kills it in May, and then comes up with this. Well, this is DVO and John Ossoff, I believe, was the other co-author. Again, this is a good program. I'm delighted to see our veterans getting some help because they could use it. But I think it's a little disingenuous to say, look at this wonderful thing we did. Yeah, there was that thing before, but it had the other president's name on it, and we can't have that.
Yeah, we had to make it better.
The other thing that jumped out at me when I saw this little press conference yesterday, the president spent time talking about prices, because we were just talking about prices.
And how high they are, Jane?
Well, no, how they're coming down. Calvin, I believe we have that clip from the president of the United States yesterday talking about gas prices. Can we play that clip, please?
So I just want everyone to know prices are way down, and that's a big thing. Groceries, everything. If you look at fuel, $2.35 a gallon. A lot of that, but we actually had 4 states where it's down $1.99.
Where? What? There's 3 or 4 states where gas is $1.99? Derek, ask him where. I'd love to know where that's happening. You were standing right over his shoulder when he said that. Can't you just lean up and say, excuse me, Mr. President, can you name those states where gas is $1.99 a gallon? I'd like to be able to tell my constituents.
I mean, if you'd like, I could give you some gas price information right now.
I would be curious.
This is according to gasprices.aaa.com. This is a website everyone can go to check out what the gas prices are in individual states. You can actually break down much further, but right now the average gas price in America is $3, about 15 cents as of today. This is an updated daily with the highest prices, of course, in California on the West Coast. And in Illinois, too, is $3.44. But in Mississippi right now, that is the lowest price. It's $2.71.
That does not sound like $1.99.
That sounds nearly $1 more than what the president has said. And grocery prices, in fact, are not going down. No. We just spoke about this. They are going to be going up. They have already gone up. And this is one of those things where my big mistake last year was talking about the economy like everyone understood the economy as if I understood the economy, which I'm not a math guy. I'm not a numbers dork. But this is kitchen table economy stuff. Your groceries, your gas, back to school prices. You cannot, with a straight face, look at these stories and say, oh, the president's right. No, he's not. Your groceries are going up. And that's just what's happening to all of us.
Well, just if you're curious, you might want to call Derek Van Orden's office and ask him, where are those 3 or 4 states where gas is $1.99 a gallon? Because we're just curious, and he should know. He has access to the guy who said it yesterday. We'll include a contact number for Mr. DVO. You can also find it at wivote.gov. myvote.wi.gov.
Yeah.
Put in your address, and then contact info for all of your elected officials will come up. We have news on the way. Stay with us. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
We're gonna run on my red motorcycle. And everywhere that I go, everybody's gonna know that you can't catch a motorcycle when it wants to go. Yeah, 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 yeah. Motorcycle.
Good morning. Welcome to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, and Calvin Mutinoff coming to you live from our home here at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, Civic Media's meteorologist Brittany Merlot joining us for a little weather and wine. Tell us what we can expect as we head into the weekend. It has got to be 30 degrees cooler today than it was yesterday.
She was camping last week at EAA during a heat advisory.
It was so hot.
Way tougher than I'll ever be.
Yeah. So Brittany Merlot joining us at around 10:20 after the 10:30 news. The Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan will be here to talk all things sports. We'll end the show, as we always do, with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today it's the Terminator Bunny edition. Stay tuned for that. And just a reminder, join Pete Schwaba tonight for Nightlight from 6 to 8 p.m.
Why?
Some incredible guests tonight with Pete Schwaba's Nightlight.
Yeah.
Civic Media's Jimmy Koska.
Oh, God, I could talk about him for all. The man, it does not stop.
The popcorn pick of the week.
Yeah.
And then at 7:20.
Let's move on to other things, Jane.
Co-host of Civic Media's Matenaer On Air, Greg Bach.
Yes.
Joining Pete Schwaba tonight at 7:20 on Nightlight.
Listen as Greg makes attempts at humor.
What do you know what you're talking? Well, are you talking movies?
I think we're going to talk movies. They asked me about popcorn pick of the week, but I'm not listed for that, so I should.
You got passed over.
What you're doing now, people, is you're listening to a conversation that could happen off air, but it's not. It's going to be great. I love talking to Pete. We always have a good time. We have a lot of friends in common in the stand-up community.
Yeah.
He has a lot of my friends on his show too. I'm always excited. I'm like, I know them and they're funny. So it's going to be a great time. I love being on Pete's show, and it's a good way to. That show is a great way to wind down your day.
It really is.
But I will say, after Pete's show, Civic Media's programming doesn't stop. There are great shows after Native Roots are on, National Revolution is there, and those shows, all of those shows, whether it's Pete's show, our show,
Earl's show. Earl's got a podcast.
Earl's got a brand new podcast called What's Going On, and that leads me directly into what I wanted to say, which go to civicmedia.us/shows, and you can find all of our shows there. You can download episodes one by one directly to your device, listen to them whenever you would like. Or you can just simply go to your podcast distribution center of choice, and you can download our shows as a podcast as well. Subscribe to them, and that way new episodes are delivered directly to your device when they are available, as well as, maybe giving us a 5-star review if we deserve it. Because that helps with visibility and ratings.
Absolutely. We'd appreciate it. Greg Bach tonight on Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Be listening around 7:20. Check out the whole show. Starts tonight at 6 o'clock. Dan Schaefer mentioned this when he was on yesterday, and we didn't really have too much time to delve into it. Wisconsin Senior Senator Ron Johnson yesterday, he's not happy with a new measure that would kind of crack down on insider trading among our members of Congress.
Yeah.
Senator Josh Hawley drew up a bill banning the practice of, again, Congresswomen being able to trade on insider trading. Josh Hawley drew up a bill banning that practice, but boy, that's landing with a thud, including from the president. Donald Trump on social media called Josh Hawley a second-tier senator, playing right into the dirty hands of the Democrats. I don't think real Republicans want to see their president, who has had unprecedented success, targeted. So, Rojo, we're going to play a little clip from Wisconsin Senior Senator Ron Johnson talking about this measure that would crack down on our elected officials from using their insider information to trade stocks. Calvin, can we play that clip, please, from Senator Ron Johnson?
We make it very unattractive for people to step up to the plate and run for office or potentially serve in office. I tried hiring a retired CFO many years ago. Okay. This after the passage of the Stock Act. Would have been great. I could have had somebody really expert in international taxation, that type of thing. I could not find anybody willing to do it. So this piece of legislation, really, it's legislative demagoguery. We do have insider trading laws. We have financial disclosure.
Yeah.
Trust me, we have financial disclosure. The press pays attention to it. So I don't see the necessity of this. I can imagine all kinds of unintended consequences.
Really?
You could relabel this law, quite honestly, the Career Politician Protection Act, because it'll make it so unattractive for people to give up their business, sell it.
They have to sell it?
Mm-mm. Unless some ethics committee says, oh, no, there won't be a conflict of interest. I mean, there's when we pass a tax law that lowers tax rates, we all benefit. It's just an inherent issue.
When we pass tax cuts, we all benefit. It's just inherent.
Jane, that may be the greatest 1 minute, 15 seconds, the most impactful, full of confessions I have ever heard. I mean, really, honestly, I don't know if I've ever heard in such a small amount of time so much just blatant honesty coming out of one elected official.
I mean, that was completely inadvertent.
Because when you played this for me, we both saw two different
things.
blaring things. I want you to talk about what you...
Well, okay, my question is, he tried to hire a retired CFO. Now, the measure that he was referring to, that Stock Act,
correct,
was developed after the crash in 2008, right?
Yes.
And then wasn't enacted into law until 2012.
Correct.
Okay. But that was in response to what happened after the crash of 2008.
Yeah.
So Ron Johnson telling us that he couldn't find a former chief financial officer of a company, which from what I understand is a pretty high-powered position if you're a company CFO.
Depending on your company, yeah, but you can make, I mean...
You can make some pretty good buck being a CFO.
Exactly.
He couldn't find a retired CFO to work for him because he wasn't allowed to do insider trading?
Yeah, because the Stock Act specifically talks about, it's about transparency, it's about making sure we understand, excuse me, it aims at making the people capable of seeing how the elected officials make their money, essentially.
Well, isn't what he's saying essentially the reason to go into Congress is to make money,
and that was
to get rich?
That was my big blaring thing, was that, you know, first of all, the whole CFO line basically said this guy, if this is true, which I don't think it is, but there was a man, I'll just call him a man, former CFO sitting in his office saying, hey, if it wasn't for the Stock Act, I would take the job, which to me is saying, like, if I could insider trade, that'd be great, but I can't, so I'm not going to.
Well, what's the point of doing this?
And the line about we're not making it attractive for people to run for office. So what I hear from that is the people that you believe are running for office are seeking to enrich themselves. There is no doubt that individuals in federally elected positions become more wealthy over time.
Look at Kristen Sinema.
Bernie Sanders, I think, is worth $10 million. Now, granted, he's probably one of the, quote, poorer ones,
right?
But he's still worth way more than me. But when he says something to the effect of we're not making it look attractive, that's someone saying, well, I'd run for Congress, but I only make $174,000 a year and get great health care. I can't do anything else. Forget it. And also, where does it say you have to? I know you have to divest from your business.
Yes, or put it into a blind trust.
There are ways you don't, but there's no. I don't believe there's a single law in the books that says you must sell your business off. If you want to, you can, but I don't believe there's anything that says you have to. No, you for the time you're in office, you divest yourself.
Trump didn't sell all his businesses.
No, he did not at all.
His sons are still running his businesses.
So all of this,
Rojo didn't sell his business.
No. And all of this being said is that he's searching for a reason not to support this. And every example he used basically just said out loud why some individuals go into politics in the federal level. They want to make money and they want to use the information available to them to enrich themselves. He didn't even say it as like oops, I shouldn't have said that.
No.
He literally said, this is the reason why I'm against this. By the way, Josh Hawley, as a, quote, second-tier Republican senator, the man raised a fist to the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Ask Derek Van Orden. He probably saw him there doing that because Derek Van Orden was there.
But
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off there, but that's that line right there is like, it's the whole thing of, I think Josh Hawley's a rhino now.
Well, but that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Today,
yes,
Josh Hawley had something else to say.
Yes, he had a 11 hours ago, the article came out about the second-tier senator, because that's what Trump does. He reacts, he lashes out, he makes a statement to the press, and that's what's the headline. And I get that. We're used to that at this point. 45 minutes ago, Josh Hawley reports to having a, quote, good talk with the president.
Did he have a good talk?
Yeah. So maybe this will that will help make this bill go into what politicians call a drawer. It will go into a drawer, and we'll just forget about it.
Pretend it never happened.
Forget it.
Pretend it never happened.
And the one time Josh Hawley stood up for us, my God.
Well, he crumbled like a cheap. I mean, please. And what the other thing that jumped out at me on that, yes, there are allegedly already things in place that are supposed to police this. But with their spending reports, their campaign finance reports and all that stuff, how many times have we had lawmakers go back and amend those reports after it was reported that they didn't go about things the right way? Or they made money that, oops, they forgot to include on there. So that doesn't seem like what we have in place right now doesn't seem to have a whole lot of teeth.
No, and I was corrected on the live stream. Thank you very much, PJ. And I looked it up myself too. Bernie Sanders is worth between $2.5 to $3 million.
Well, he's practically a pauper.
Well, yeah, exactly. And honestly, that nowadays that's the retirement fund. Hopefully, of a good couple who have worked their whole lives for 40 years and blah blah blah, and will still have struggling moments in their lives. But this whole notion, going back to the whole financial disclosures, the way he said it too, goes, trust me, they're fine. No, don't say like it's a burden. That's part of the gig. You want to be a public servant, you have to tell the public what you're about. You must disclose.
Sorry, that's kind of today you have to. Maybe we'll just get rid of that down the road, and they want to have those burdensome reporting things they have to do.
And honestly, just do what Trump does. Don't do them and see who comes after you, because he didn't disclose his taxes. He's still being audited, apparently. But all they have to do is just not do something, and we stand back and go, hey, you're supposed to do this. They say no, and we, the regular people, we don't have the power. We don't have the power on a regular day. We have the power at the voting booth, absolutely. We should always exercise that and make yourself available to do that. And go to myvote.wi.gov. Let Ron Johnson know that maybe he shouldn't be able to enrich himself through lowering his own taxes and inside information. Maybe he'd like to know that.
I'm sure he would. myvote.wi.gov. You got time today. Grab your phone and just leave a friendly phone call. Weather and Wine with Brittany Merlot. How long are these smoky conditions going to last? She will tell us. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It's wanting what you've got. I'm gonna soak up the sun.
Good morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, our resident young person, Calvin on the board, coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine, where you can join us. Call or text at 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. It's been too long. Civic Media's meteorologist Brittany Merlot joining us for a little weather and wine. You actually took a little time off for yourself to go to the EAA last week. What a difference a week makes, Brittany. Last week you were sweltering to death in that incredible heat wave we had. And today it's like 30 degrees cooler than it was yesterday.
Yes, the relief has been amazing because it was pouring water all over myself. That tent heated up so fast.
Oh,
I bet.
no thanks.
Yeah, it was rough, but it was fun. It was worth it. But now it seems like I was so excited for the cooler, more comfortable temperatures, and we just can't get a nice, good quality summer day with blue skies. The wildfire smoke is just, it's kind of unbearable. It's hard to breathe.
Well, and there was a report that just came out that I saw on Twitter about air quality reports, and this is not good. As of 9 o'clock this morning, 6 Wisconsin cities are in the top 10 for worst air quality in the country, including Milwaukee, Beloit, Stockton, Traverse City, Waukesha, Rhinelander, Marquette, Madison, Houghton, and Green Bay. So again, these wildfires in Canada, and I had really hoped, obviously without hope yesterday, because this was a huge line of storms that came across, and I had hoped that they would get to where they need them in Canada, and that didn't happen.
No, it didn't. Eastern Canada is expected to have some rain coming up soon, but Western, Central, not so much. Areas that really, really need it. So a big drought, severe drought in some areas. I mean, there's 70 active large wildfires, and this high pressure system that we were looking forward to is the reason. It's so dry and drought and calm there. Now it's moving its way towards us, just dragging that smoke at us. And I was looking into it. It's pretty cool. It's at 20,000 feet and it moves at 125 miles per hour.
And we talked about this last year. Is this something, with regard to wildfires and whatnot, something, and the smoke coming down from Canada, that's just something we're going to probably be used to now. That's something that happens in our region.
Yeah, so that's the new norm. Yay! We signed up for this unknowingly. It really is. And I was chatting with the Wisconsin DNR earlier this week, and I was asking the same thing. How unusual is this? And the one thing that she was like, it's earlier, it's bigger, Yeah, she's like, usually we send people over there to help. We're doing that now. Now we've got more already. And it's just, the efforts are just ongoing and ongoing. And their season runs till September, wildfire season in Canada. So we've got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the first time that smoke moved into Wisconsin? Because I'm 65 years old. That had never happened before. I had never seen that happen before. And now, as you said, Greg, unfortunately, apparently this is just going to be an annual thing.
Yeah.
Yep. That was 3 years ago. It started creeping into parts of northern Minnesota about 10 years ago or so. But the fact that it's moving further south, more and more frequent, Illinois is starting to see it more and more often. It's becoming the normal here. Yeah, it's not fun.
It's just very off-putting. I know, because it's essentially it's newer, I don't know how to say this. I don't forget that it's happening. I think what I thought was, I was expecting it a few months ago, maybe like in May and June. And it didn't happen. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it'll not that bad. Good summer. And then I walked outside. I'm like, it is misty, foggy, weird outside. And it can just really happen any time during those months.
Yeah. So a lot of these fires were actually started by lightning strikes. So their storm season started up, lightning strikes in the woods. It's a remote area. They can't get to it. It's just blows out of proportion. You've got the winds up there, tons of trees and stuff. And even today, now we're not in a bad fire risk, but up north in our north woods, a moderate risk versus everywhere else, nothing.
What do we got coming for the weekend, Brittany, as far as weather-wise across the state?
Well, I hope the smoke will be gone by Saturday. Fingers crossed that it will be out of here. It'll for sure be gone by Sunday, I can guarantee you that. And comfortable temperatures, mid to upper 70s as we close out the week and into the weekend. Dry up until about Monday night. I think there's a chance for some showers and storms far north. And then Tuesday, a little bit more likely. Monday and Tuesday, more widespread here for us.
But no immediate 95s coming our way or anything like that.
Ooh, well, they're
she's
behind
not saying.
that. Yeah, next weekend. Next weekend, it's going to be back into that high heat, high humidity. All that is going to definitely return. So this weekend, comfortable. Next weekend, you'll be sweating again.
So enjoy it while we got it.
The weather 180. Yep.
I don't know why you ask that question every time, Jane. You never like the answer unless it's like mid-December. Like, are we going to get 95 days? No, it's December. You're fine.
Great.
Enjoy bone-cracking cold instead. But no, yeah, I just feel like don't ask the herald of the weather gods, Brittany Merlot. It'll never be the news you want. That's right. I just refer to her as the herald of the weather gods.
I love it. I love it. Here's the good news, though, with the humidity. Ladies, everyone, you age slower. It's better for your face and the wrinkles in the skin. There's your positive.
There you go.
She
There's
said
gotta be
that looking at me. That's okay.
She
No,
says
I didn't.
ladies. I feel
She was looking at me, but that's okay.
Men, we just get old and withered over time, and we take it because that means we had a good life.
Brittany Merlot is Civic Media's meteorologist. She joins us every Thursday for a little weather and wine. Thank you so much, my friend. Really
you.
appreciate it. We will see you next week. We have news coming up next, and then we're going to talk all things sports with the Acme Packing Company's Paul Noonan, except yesterday's game that never happened. We're going to pretend that was just not a thing. You are listening to Matenaer On Air, coming to you across the vast, statewide, countrywide. Pick us up around the world on the app. We are the Civic Media Radio Network.
Gonna soak up the sun. Gonna tell everyone to lighten up. I'm gonna tell them that I've got no one to blame. But every time I feel lame, I'm looking up.
and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Calvinator on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us. Call, text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Maggie Dawn today, 4 to 6 across the network, has a great show, special about cryptocurrency.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
It's going to be fantastic. Maggie's talking with Professor Brad Rettler. He is the author of Resistance Money. So they're going to kick around the basics of crypto, which I think all of us need to learn about, including me.
Yeah.
And then in the 5 o'clock hour, Maggie talking with Professor Richard Painter. Really, I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah.
Former ethics attorney for George W. Bush, breaking down the potential government corruption and manipulation of cryptocurrency. Going to be a great show today with Maggie. Tune in 4 to 6 across the network. Joining us right now to talk all things sports except for yesterday's game, which never happened. Paul Noonan is here from the Acme Packing Company. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Happy to be here. And yes, that game did not exist.
Yeah, we're just going to pretend it didn't happen, or we're going to follow what the current administration and.
Well, I proposed an idea, Paul. First of all,
Sure.
I don't know what game you're talking about. It was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Wednesday didn't happen. I feel this is me, and I would like to propose this for baseball. If you take a series but you don't sweep, whatever losses from that team, like the Brewers lost yesterday, see, I said it, I grow, doesn't count against the total standing count. So, like, they're still ahead 2 games because even they took the series, and that's what's important. They didn't win yesterday, but they still took the series. Therefore, they get the total victory of what it was sweep. It's simple mathematics, everybody. Do you understand me?
I can go with that.
That's kind of...
The other way to go, Paul Noonan, that we were just talking about is we're just going to be like the Trump administration and say they won.
Yeah,
it's just
make
they
it up.
won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Greg's idea is actually how the Savannah Bananas do innings. You get 1 point for scoring more runs in an inning than the other team, regardless of how many runs you actually score. And so the last inning is always close. The last inning runs count. So, like, you can only get up by, I think, a total of 6 maximum, and then runs count. That thing is crazy. I like all the rules they have.
That's hilarious.
Baseball should adopt some of them. But
it's interesting you bring up the Bananas really quick, because that's what a player, I believe, for the Phillies used them as an example when they were very upset about Mr. Jacob Mizorowski going to the Hall of Fame. I'm not the Hall of Fame, sorry.
To
the
All-Star
All-Star game. He was like, this is the Savannah Bananas out here. I'm like, really? It's 5 games is a short amount of time, but it's not the Savannah Bananas. He's not like coming out on stilts.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't playing on
bet he
stilts.
could.
So.
Yeah.
He's already 6'7". He kind of is on stilts. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So the Brewers are on fire. I mean, before yesterday's loss, they had the best record in baseball.
Yep.
And I've been saying this, and it's been a few weeks since the last time we spoke. Whether it was you or J.R. Radcliffe or myself or other Brewers fans, and in April or March, we had a much different outlook on what this team would be doing. And I understand there's still another half of baseball to be played, but this is surprising, exciting, but like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I think it's also important to state that this also isn't lucky. One of the ways we track luck in baseball is the team's underlying differential in runs scored. And the Cubs have been sort of dominating that in the National League for the entire season. And the Cubs are good. Just throw that out there. But the Brewers have actually been catching up to them also in run differential. Like, they were like 70 runs behind them for most of the season. And over the last month and a half, they actually briefly got within like 5 runs of them. After the Cubs win yesterday, it's like 15 or something like that. But they're close enough that they are functionally as good as the Cubs in underlying metrics and in record. And so, like, they're not like this like scrappy go-getter anymore that's chasing the big bad. They are their own big bad. They are on par with every other good team in baseball, Yankees, Dodgers, anybody you want to throw out there. And they've just hit a lot of just wins in terms of player development. Getting Andrew Vaughn and turning him into something really special from the White Sox has been just a revelation to fix first base for the time being. Sal Frelick has turned into a legitimately dangerous outfielder from like a little tiny scrappy guy. Honestly, the best team in baseball at turning little tiny scrappy guys into actual offensive forces is the Brewers. I'm not really sure. There's no other team like them. Like nobody else has this. Their offense is a meat grinder. The only weak spot in it really is Joey Ortiz, who's frankly not even that bad and still a defensive whiz at shortstop. And pitching, of course, like the Cubs have made some trades up to the deadline to get some pitching because they've been sorely lacking. They really only had 3 starters. The Brewers have like 10. On the pitching side, the Brewers are the best team in baseball. They have so much depth. They have so many guys who throw 100. It's ridiculous. So this is a true force of nature, and they're real. Like the one thing I could say to every Brewers fan out there is this is a real contender. This is the best contender they've had in a long time. And, they've been good for like a decade now. This is one of the best of those teams.
So this is when I'm going to defer to you for your expertise because you're talking analytics, and that's one thing I wish my brain could understand because when you're like, run differential, I'm like, yeah, they run when they hit the ball. But what is the change? Because this is not a matter of, the bats woke up or the pitching is good. Because as you just stated, this is a combined team effort, and this is work by Pat Murphy. This is work by the front office. This is work by Mark Antanasio as the owner. What changed in those few months where we were literally saying this will be a 500 baseball team, and then whatever, and we'll take it. Not every year can be great, but to what seems like being called like the Red Hot Brewers right now, what changed as a team to make this happen?
When they started the season, so it is, I think, mostly offensive driven. Their pitching has been good, but if you remember at the start of the season, like 5 starters were hurt. So one thing that changed is those guys got healthy. Woodruff is back and pitching well. Yeah. Like they added Mizorowski, who's like adding an ace. It's basically like trading for an ace without giving anything up. But more than anything, they had a bunch of holes in the offense to start the season. Their third base, remember Vinny Capra made this team out of camp. One of the worst players in baseball this year. Vinny's fine, but they've actually, like Caleb Durbin has come on, and he's not the greatest player ever, but he went from third base being a black hole to being slightly better than average offensively. That was big change number 1. Isaac Collins is statistically the most valuable hitter on this team. A guy who literally came out of nowhere, who my good friend Spencer, who's on our podcast, actually really liked and I should listen to more often, and has made it so there's really no holes in the outfield. And the acquisition of Andrew Vaughn. So they had pretty good first base production when Rhys Hoskins was healthy, when Lauer was healthy. But Vaughn, that getting him was a steal. Like, I don't know if people know how good Andrew Vaughn has been. It's only been 16 games, I think, with the Brewers. But for those 16 games, he's basically been the best hitter in baseball. Like, he has played at an MVP level after spending his entire career with the White Sox and being basically terrible. Sometimes these things are like little small sample size, like, he'll probably turn into a pumpkin next week, and maybe he will. But one thing I really like to do is steal players from awful teams. The Rockies and the White Sox are 2 of the worst organizations in sports. Yeah. And if you look at like Andrew Vaughn's profile, there's a chance this might actually stick because he had a big problem swinging at pitches outside the zone with the White Sox. He swung at about 36% of pitches outside the zone. The Brewers have got that down to 22. And when he swings at a pitch in the zone, he makes contact 90% of the time. Wow. And it's hard contact. So with the White Sox so far this year, which he played most of the season with, he struck out 43 times and he walked 7 times. With the Brewers so far in his 16 games, he's struck out 7 times and walked 7 times. So he's walked as much with the Brewers in 16 games as he did with the White Sox the entire first half of the season. I think they actually may have fixed him for real, which never happens midseason.
We made him a real boy.
Seriously.
Well done, Geppetto.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Paul Noonan on Matenaer On Air. He is the Acme sports writer. And also, I've been meaning to do this more often because, yes, you have a podcast, Milwaukee's Tailgate Brewer Podcast. It is a great breakdown of all the news of the Brewers, and it helps. it helps me because I love baseball, but the numbers and the statistics,
stats and all that
kind of
stuff.
hit me in the face sometimes. But you guys make it very digestible, and I appreciate that. So go and find that where you find your podcast. And yeah, I mean, it just feels like right now there's not something that can make this team fall apart immediately. Like something can happen, there's no doubt. But like I feel like so many years before that, it's like, oh, the pitching falls apart. That's why you fall apart.
Yeah.
Oh, the hitting falls apart. But what you're saying is like the puzzle pieces are coming together, and that's much more exciting. So much great things to watch over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and what I love about this too, I think, is that the season started off just kind of like, we'll play. It's not going to be great.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. But then to see them turn into this, it's really exciting. It is.
It really is. And there's so many surprises, and nobody projected them to be this good. No preseason projection had them this good. Some of them had them as fringe playoff contenders, but they've just had so many things work out. I think it's really a testament to their player development and the front office that they've managed to create this depth and just create so many winners like Isaac Collins and get Frelick into a spot where he's actually a dangerous hitter. Like they really seem to know what they're doing at this point.
Paul Noonan is our guest in the time we have left. Paul, let's talk a little bit about the Packers because Packers training camp is underway.
Yeah, it's been kind of exciting so far. There's been a good amount of drama. So Elton Jenkins is going to likely play center this year after playing mostly guard, some tackle. He's kind of the Swiss Army knife of the offensive line. He is not happy because centers are paid less than guards and tackles. And he did just get a new deal a couple of years ago, but he wants more money. So we'll see if they do anything there. But he did report and is playing, which is good. But the offensive line has been made to run a couple of extra laps so far in training camp. They have had some issues. Rasheed Walker in particular. Hopefully they get that together. And also want to mention Nate Hobbs is a cornerback that we acquired from the Raiders in the offseason. He is likely to be our starting slot cornerback, the guy who covers the little guys that run in the middle of the field. He's been tackling people too hard. He may have, it's been kind of a love-hate thing. They told him to calm down, but keep an eye on him as a potentially like hard-hitting enforcer type once the season actually starts. He officially did not cause running back Marshawn Lloyd's injury, but he unofficially maybe sort of did. And so Hobbs is a guy to keep an eye on. He's a pretty good player historically. He's good for the Raiders. He's good in the slot. But you may have a bit of a character on your hands with him once the season starts. And honestly, the Packers, I do think, benefit when they have at least one or two guys on the defense who are sort of unreasonable thumpers. So don't hurt your own guys.
I love that.
It's going to be the name of my album, I think. Unreasonable
Jane
Thumpers.
and the Unreasonable Thumpers.
I like that. There's potential there. Paul Noonan is with the Acme Packing Company. He joins us every other Thursday to talk all things sports. As Greg said, check out his podcast.
Milwaukee's Tailgate Podcast, where you find your podcast.
Thank you
all
so
the
much,
podcast
Paul.
places. Thanks, all.
We will see you in a couple. When we return, we're going to wrap it up with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Today, the Terminator Bunny Edition. Stay close. You're listening to Matenaer On Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome back to Matenaer On Air. Jane Matenaer, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text at 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Tomorrow is the 1st of August. I hate to be the one to tell you
There's
that.
like too many emotions happening right there. I mean, it's the classic thing. Well, I think State Fair starts today.
It does. State Fair is starting today.
And that's the traditional end of summer, even though it's not the end of summer. But still, if you're in Wisconsin,
First day of August tomorrow. And we have a busy, busy week for you coming up next week. Shelly Pittman is going to be here. Beyond the Cheese is set for Monday. We are going to talk to the Poppy Bakery.
Ooh.
Very excited about that. Todd Alba will be joining us. We're trying to finagle Civic Media's genie of just about everything Terry Barr for next week. She works on wonderful pieces that are very Wisconsin-centric.
Yeah.
Joe Zapecki is going to be joining us next week.
It's been a spell.
It's been way too
It's been
long.
a moment.
Way too long since we talked to Joe. Darren Von Ruden will be here as well. I always screw up his name. Did I get it right
No,
today?
you got it absolutely. It's Darren Von
Ruden.
Ruden, but doesn't matter. When you started, I'm like, you said Darren Von, and I just heard I'm like, we what?
Darren Von Ruden will be here. He joins us the first Wednesday of every month. He is a dairy farmer in Wisconsin.
Yes,
We're
he
going
is.
to talk to Darren coming up next week. Right now, though, Calvin, it is 10:54. That means it's time for...
This shouldn't be a thing.
If you ever find a thing you think should not be, send it into Greg and me at Jane Says at civicmedia.us. JANESAYS. Jane Says at civicmedia.us. Calvin found this one in Popular Science. Margarita Bossi with the byline. The headline reads, Robot bunnies deployed in Florida to fight invasive pythons. Researchers have found a creative new solution to track down the snakes. Now, to clarify, we kind of love the robot bunnies.
Yeah.
It's the Burmese pythons that shouldn't be a thing
Yes.
in Florida.
And also to those Burmese pythons, we know you don't want to be there.
Exactly.
And we're sorry that someone put you there.
Yeah, and then released you.
I also don't want people putting invasive species animals. That's what shouldn't be a thing as well.
That also should not be a thing. Burmese pythons, one of the world's largest snake and a huge invasive species in southern Florida. They have been trying to fight this since the 1970s when the snakes were first introduced either accidentally or intentionally through the exotic pet
Florida,
trade.
of course it was intentional.
Yes, of course it was intentional. Pythons have become the top predators in South Florida, and they have a really hard time tracking them down. So they're coming up with creative ways to lure them out into the open, and by creative, they are using robot bunnies. Here, here, snake, snake, snake.
All right. Does anybody, either you, Jane, Calvin, listeners, watchers on the live stream, anyone else getting a real Acme/Looney Tunes feel about this whole thing? Like there's just a boxes of it just says Acme robot bunnies, and someone's gonna pull the wrong cord and the cave
and it's gonna be like 9 feet tall.
Meep, meep, and then the snake just runs away. Yeah. This there is a visual component. The story will be in the show notes. I don't accuse snakes of being the smartest creatures on earth, but you look at it and you're like, oh, this isn't. When you think robot bunny, you have an image in your head. Take that image out, put it in the washing machine, and that's what the robot bunny looks like.
Do you think that it will fool a Burmese python?
Oh, I'm sure, but it will fool it in the same sense of it will think it's just a thing, and not like, oh, it's a bunny. It will be like, oh, there's an object I can go.
That I might be able to eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not really bunny-like, is what you're saying.
It's bunny, but it doesn't look like it's bunny-esque. It's bunny. It's not bunny it's bunny-ish.
Robot bunnies don't need to be fed.
Okay.
Their pens don't need to be cleaned. They're waterproof. And they're decked out with a motion sensor camera that pings researchers if a python approaches. So if we can see a statistically significant number of pythons coming to check out these robot rabbits, this would be a success because right now pythons are really good at hiding. Remains to be seen whether the pythons will be tricked by the fake bunnies.
Another thing too is if they're smart and able to hide, they're eventually going to realize the quote bunny that doesn't move
is not necessarily the bunny of my dreams.
Yeah, exactly. The bunny of you. Stop it. Stop writing songs about this. Yeah, hey, look, do what you need to do. It's fine. South Florida, my heart's with you.
They're trying.
But this I just see Porky Pig at the end going, that's all, folks, and that's it. That's the end of the story.
We'll try and keep an eye on this and let you know how this robot bunny effort goes in South Florida. That wraps up today's episode of
This Shouldn't Be a Thing.
Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and all of our engineers. Without you, nothing works. And thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening and for watching on the live stream. It really does mean the world.
We appreciate you.
I hope you find some joy today and you get the chance to share it. Keep it right here. News coming up next, followed by Tom Hartman, 11 to 2. Todd Alba live from Richland Center, 2 to 4. Great cryptocurrency special with Maggie Dawn today, 4 to 6. And then Pete Schwaba, 6 to 8. Greg's going to be on tonight with Pete. Check that out.
You're welcome.
Keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. We will see you tomorrow.